What's going on, everybody? Big breaking news out of Nashville, out of the Tennessee Titans organization, and we're going to get into all of that. As you can see on the screen, the Titans have done it. Christmas came a little late for some of us, for most of us. For some of us, we feel great, and then there are some who are thinking the worst. We're going to talk about that and more as the Tennessee Titans have fired head coach Mike Vrabel today. Shocking news. Let's talk about it. We're going to get this show started in less than 30 seconds. And also, we're going to try to peek in on the press conference that's going to happen today because Rand Carthon is scheduled to talk to the media today. And we're going to definitely try to carry some of that on the show. But breaking news, Mike Vrabel fired as head coach of the Tennessee Titans. We'll talk about that and more to come in the next 60 seconds, in the next 30 seconds.
Good evening, Titan Nation. How is everybody?
What's going on, Titan Nation, football fans everywhere? Welcome into a breaking new TNT breaking news edition of TNT tonight. I'm your man, Chris, aka Blue Enforcer, and we're gonna have a very good small show today as the Titans have made some breaking news that are headlines spreading all over the NFL. And we're going to definitely talk about that and more. But first of all, make sure you share this show out, whether it be on Facebook, whether it be on Twitter, X, or on Instagram. I know this is a bit short notice, but when this news came out, you knew I had to come out with it. I had to come talk about it. And so we're going to get right into that right now. Again, make sure y'all share the show and everything. And also, everybody that come on in, make sure you smash that like button. Go ahead and hit that like button. And if you're new to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button as well. And hit the bell and put all, so that way you will get whenever I go live, you will know. I know there's a lot of people in the comment section. We're going to get to everybody in just a moment. And also follow on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple, and Google Podcasts as well. Definitely make sure you follow up on that. But as y'all saw on the graphic, breaking news out of Nashville, a shocker. The Tennessee Titans fire head coach Mike Vrabel today. And wow, I kid you not, I was not expecting this. No, I take that back. Let me not cut myself short. I've been calling for this for a long time. I told y'all something was going to happen. And for a lot of you out there, some of you didn't believe me. I told you so. Matter of fact, hold on a second. I got to do this. All y'all Vrabel supporters out there, how y'all feeling today, huh? You feeling a little blue? You feeling a little sad? Wipe them tears from your eyes. Wipe them tears. Quit crying over spilled milk. Everything's going to be okay. Quit acting like it's the end of the world. How y'all like Vrabel now? He on the unemployment line. Now, I agree. He may not be on there for long. This could be a mistake, but you know what? I am as happy as a kid on Christmas. Woo! I feel great. I feel vindicated. I told y'all something was going to go down. I said Then it was time to move on from Mike Vrabel, and I was right. And I know I wasn't the only one that thought this, but I tried to tell you. I tried to tell you. And a lot of people wouldn't listen to me. People thought I was crazy. And people thought I had lost my mind and thought that I was jinxing everything and thought I was an idiot. I got it all on Twitter. Like a whole bunch of a whole bunch of Twitter people were hating on X. They were hating on me and thought I am one of the, I had an idiotic take and all this and that, but I told you. Did I not tell you something was going to happen? Did I not tell you that Mike Vrabel's arrogance was going to destroy this team? I called this 2 years ago. But some of you did not listen. I tried to tell you. And Miss Amy did the right thing. Now I know a lot of you are going to say, well, Dag, there's half the fan base that think this is a good move. There's half the fan base that think this is a terrible move. The national media is crushing us right now. And even some of the local Nashville media is crushing us right now, saying this was a terrible move. And, how do you get rid of Mike Vrabel, who's now going to be one of the most sought after candidates? I'm going to sit here and tell you, I think this was a great move. Not just a good move, a great move. This had to be done. Y'all all saw the reports. Y'all all saw all the stuff coming out that obviously there was friction between Mike Vrabel and Rand Carthon. Turns out that was true. Now, obviously, Lou Man is like, not a good move, 5-12 next year. We probably would have been 5-12 or worse next year with Vrabel as head coach. He should have got fired right after week 15, but he didn't, and you fire him after week 18. I got a problem with Amy and Rand. Why? We ain't even going to win a Super Bowl. Plus, winning seasons are a thing of the past. We're the new Detroit. No one wants to play her anymore. Ms. Mims is like, great move. Sportacular says, smart move, need a new perspective. Collective Soul says, now let's hope New Orleans can fire Dennis Allen and Carmichael, because if not, we're going to have another terrible season for the 5th time. Here's the problem with the Saints. They've already came out and said they're sticking with Dennis Allen. They already said that. They said that yesterday. And I do think wherever he goes, Henry could go with him. I agree. Appreciate your collective soul. Nashville flirting with disaster. I think this is the right move. This is the right move. And I know there's a lot of you, like Lou Man, who thinks this is a horrible move. So I blame the fans. Be careful what you wish for. Hey, look, it's no guarantee that this is going to work. But here's my reason why I think, Over Chicken says great move. And there's a lot of flip-floppers. Those who wanted Vrabel fired so bad, and now they're like, why'd you fire Vrabel? And I know probably why. Some of them probably thought, well, you got to trade him, get some compensation. And so I know I'm kind of going all over the place right now. Let me go back to why I think this is a great move. I think this is a great move because, number one, Mike Vrabel is an absolute a-hole. We all know that. Mike Vrabel wanted control, even though he tried to admit that he didn't. But he basically tried to lowball. He basically tried to force the organization to do what he wanted. He wanted somebody else to be overran like a president of football operations or like a overseer of Rand because I guess he didn't trust him. And so, he wanted, he claimed, well, I didn't want final say. I didn't want final say. I just want to have a voice. I didn't feel like I had a voice. No, what you said and how you acted are two totally different things. And I just think that Mike Vrabel wanted power. And Narv do with a super chat. Appreciate the super chat. Time to move forward. Change was needed and is good. Tighten up. I 100% agree with that. Change needed to be made. I'm not really that shocked. I called it. And others will say the same. And Rand is going to be speaking in about 15 minutes. We're going to try to carry that press conference in its entirety. It'll probably be off of either Stillman and Company or off of 3HL, but maybe it could be off of the Titans site. But Rand Carthon scheduled to talk in 15 minutes. But again, I think this is a great move. It had to be done. Because, again, if you look at Mike Vrabel's record, he was 54-45 in 6 seasons. But out of that 15-45, he was 13-21 in the last 2 years. That is last season and this past season. He was 6-18 in 24 games since the Green Bay game. And then Vrabel said it out of his own mouth. Vrabel got himself fired. Not really that shocked. But the fact of the matter is, Mike Vrabel basically said, I didn't want to be winning based off of talent. He wanted to win based off of technique and doing it through the work and not just on talent alone. And Mike Vrabel also in the press conference when Rand was introduced in the spring, Mike Vrabel basically said, we do not rebuild in this league. He expected this team to be competing for the playoffs and competing for the division title this past season. And you failed. And Mike Vrabel never tried to hold himself accountable. He never tried to hold himself accountable. Now, Ian is with the move. Titans Forever said this is a horrible choice by Amy. She's becoming Jerry Jones. How? Because she ain't always in everything like Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones is the lawyer, the judge, the jury, the executioner, all of that. Miss Amy is doing what she had to do. She sat back. And my boy Brandon, my Blue 5 brother, we were talking about this a couple of days ago. And he told me, he said, Rand probably was just sitting back, observing Vrabel, letting him do his thing, and then he's going to make his move. And I think that might have been exactly what happened. And now, of course, Titans Forever is just clearly against it. Watch how bad this team is when they bring in another head coach that doesn't preach discipline, hard work, pride. Here's the problem. I think every coach will preach that. But it's time to move into the modern age. Mike Vrabel wanted to stay in the Stone Age. And he never wanted to change. This was like a Mike Mularkey situation. I mean, like Luke said, we have been bad for the last 2 years. We have been bad for 2 years. And yet, some of y'all out there that want to hold on to Vrabel, why? And I think it's because a lot of you who are mad that Vrabel got fired today, you are afraid of the unknown. You would rather stick with the devil that you know than the devil that you don't. You would rather stick with the status quo. And again, if Mike Vrabel had returned as head coach, I guarantee you we would have had a very similar season next year like we did this year. It would not have gotten better. Mike Vrabel never knew how to get out of his own way. Mike Vrabel wanted all the control. He wanted all the smoke. And he failed. He bet on himself saying, I'm going to get us back to the playoffs and back to the division title. He failed. When John Robinson got fired, what did I tell y'all? The pressure is on Vrabel now. It's on Vrabel now. I'm with him too, parents. I'll be glad to pack up. And tight forever. Come on, man. Have a little optimism about this. We don't know who the head coach is going to be. Now, again, I would say this. Mike Vrabel did not do the job he said he would do. He had an opportunity. Everybody wanted to blame John Robinson for the 7 games in a row that we lost. And John Robinson definitely deserved blame. But all of y'all who was just kissing Vrabel's ass, talking about he's such a great coach. Look what he did in 2021. Coach of the year, 91 players, most injured team, and we still got the #1 seed. And we lost in the first game in the divisional round. Look at what all of that got you. Nowhere. Yes. He did great with less in 2021. And some of y'all and a lot of the Nashville media who I put blame on, and I'm holding all of y'all Vrabel supporters accountable, all of y'all was kissing his ass, saying he was so great. He's such a great coach. We're so lucky to have him. Same situation happened. We had some injuries. We maybe didn't have as much great talent. That year, he won with a bunch of undrafted free agents and practice squad scrubs. Why should this year we completely change tune and, this is not Mike Vrabel's fault. He had no talent. When he lost, when John Robinson got fired and it was a power struggle, the pressure went on Vrabel. It was up to Vrabel to get it right. You started off by losing 7 in a row to end the season. You had the division in hand. You mean to tell me that one move cost you your whole season? And so Miss Amy basically said, instead of cleaning house like she should have done, she gave him another chance. She gave Vrabel the chance to say, hey, prove to me that what happened last season was a fluke. Work with Rand, and let's make this thing happen. Obviously, Vrabel didn't want to work with Rand. He wanted Ryan Cowden as general manager. He wanted an in-house guy, so we have another yes man who would bow to him. Some of y'all are just so quick to be on Mike Vrabel's jock that y'all are not looking at the big picture. All of y'all are looking short-sighted. You're looking at the short term. I'm looking at the long game. And yes, I get it. Do I expect the Titans to struggle a little bit early on? Absolutely. It's a transition. It's time to rebuild. People tried to tell him last year he needed to rebuild, but wouldn't do it. You had a chance to clean out, but you didn't do it. You had a chance to prove last year was a fluke. Vrabel built the offensive line. Let me make this perfectly clear to all of you Vrabel supporters like Titans Forever. I want you to listen to me very carefully because I've been sort of right on a lot of this. So maybe now you will listen to me Because I am telling you, I've been a fan of this team for almost 30 years. I kind of have an idea about some football. I played football in high school. I've been watching the game. I am not as knowledgeable as Coach McGinnis or as some of the people on the inside of the building. I am nowhere near as knowledgeable as those guys on like the X's and O's. Vrabel even said it himself, he was not an X's and O's coach. We need a X's and O's guy. And the thing about it is, they're going to go offensive minded. And the thing about it is, Mike Vrabel did not want to go into a new age. He did not want to rebuild. He did not want to change. When you are as stubborn and as arrogant as Mike Vrabel is, he is way more loyal than Mike Mularkey, way more arrogant than Ken Wisenhunt, and is as power crazy as Bill O'Brien. That's who you want running the team? And the thing about it is, it was time to go in a new direction. Mike, they probably told him, you might need to get rid of this coach, that coach, that coach. If you do that, you can still be the head coach. And Mike Vrabel probably said, no. You're not going to dictate to me what I do with my staff. And Miss Amy said it herself in an interview with Mike Keith. She said this was probably the most difficult decision she's ever had to make as owner. She really did not want to fire Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel probably gave her no choice. Is Eric Bieniemy a realistic option? Absolutely. And I think Miss Amy, in the end, did the right thing. Now, I know a lot of y'all, again, like Titans Forever and like Lou Man, y'all are terrified of going into the unknown. Y'all are scared. And you know what they say? Scared money don't make money. You can't be scared in this league. Sometimes you got to take risks. It may work, it may not. But it was time. I know a lot of y'all are scared this is going to fail. You don't know that as much as I don't know that. However, I do think a new offensive-minded head coach is going to help us get better. Now, I do not expect it to be all, peaches and cream, all roses in the very beginning. Are there going to be some struggles? Absolutely. With a new coach, is always going to be a struggle. But you saw what was going on in Indianapolis and in Houston. Those coaches were successful in their first year. DeMeco Ryans went from 3 wins last year to the playoffs, to the division crown. And as they've said, Mike Mularkey did the same thing. It's easy to go from like 5 or 6 wins to, say, 10 wins. It is much more difficult to go from 10 to 11 to 12 wins. I do not expect a quick turnaround, but I could see it happening. Really should have fired him last year. And Ms. Bibb said, I listened to you on everything you said is true. Been saying this for a long time. Yeah, Ms. Bibbs knows. I want y'all to comment. Have I not been saying this for years now? Recently. Lance says, yeah, national media doesn't watch the Titans. Don't believe the crap they say about us. I agree. So, and everybody keeps talking about, well, Mike Vrabel will get a job in 5 minutes. Go right ahead. Now, I agree they should have gotten some compensation for him, but I think they tried to get compensation for him. And Miss Amy said herself that they did entertain the idea of trading Vrabel, but it would have been too complicated and it would have set them back about 3 weeks. Because you're waiting on what the Patriots are going to do. You're waiting to see what other teams are going to do. And right now, they knew they need to get a move on. They need to move quickly and get in this race. Now, maybe should have made a trade, but they said that it would have been complicated. They said themselves it was going to be complicated. I know a lot of y'all are Jackson Hill with a super chat. We are going to regret this for years to come. We're going to find out. And the press conference has started. I'm going to see if I can bring it up. Let's see. I'm going to see if the Titans have it on their site. Yeah, I don't think they have it on their site, so I'm going to see if like I said, Stillman and Company or somebody actually has it, and then I will bring it to you. So y'all give me a second, and we're gonna make this happen.
I wish Vrabes, nothing but the best. Consider him a friend, and I feel like we'll be that way moving forward. And so, with that said, I'll open up for questions.
All right, this is Rand Carthon talking to the media. Let me know if y'all hear it.
Introduced that your number one thing was to serve Mike. Given today's developments, did you fail at that?
I don't think we failed. I just think, one of the things Mike's always says is that the ball isn't round, so you don't know how it's going to bounce. And I don't think the ball bounced our way. We had 7 one-score losses this year, so we were in games. Just the ball didn't bounce our way. I wouldn't consider it a failure, but by no means, were we happy with the results. And that's just something we've talked about, privately and as a group over the last couple months of, how do we get this thing right and how do we get this thing, in the right direction. So I wouldn't call it a failure, but it's definitely not up to the standard.
You mentioned Randy, did you and Mike share the same vision?
Yeah, like I said,
about where things were going.
Philosophically, like I said back in I think it was my press conference, our football foundations are generally the same, and where he cut his teeth and how I was raised to see the game of football. Realistically, it's only so many ways that you can play the game of football, only so many different schemes. Like I said, our visions were aligned. We saw it a lot the same, and we worked well together.
So I guess, I'm sorry, Buck, sorry. I guess what I meant there was in terms of where the franchise was, rebuild versus, still trying to win another year.
Yeah, well, I think that part, it's a lot of moving parts, to the game of football. And there's no secret, we've dealt with a lot of injuries here, over the last, 3 seasons or whatever it is. And, we're having to mix and match pieces, on a week-to-week basis. And it makes it hard. It makes it hard for any organization, to do that. So, we have a lot of work ahead of us of trying to, figure this whole thing out and how we can keep, our key guys out there on the field and keep them available. But it was just one of those things. It wasn't we weren't aligned or it, it didn't work is it's really hard when you take the field. I think we took the field Sunday with 9 starters out, and we were able to come away with a victory. But if you look over the last couple of weeks, look how many starters that we've had out due to injuries, and it's just hard. It's hard to win football games in the National Football League as is with a healthy roster. It's just it becomes even harder, when you don't have all your key guys.
Along those lines, Rand, along those lines.
Mike Vrabel doesn't have a job today. What is the disconnect there?
Well, I think Amy spoke to her decision, of making, of the decision she made and why, and that was about her long-term vision, of the organization, and that's really, I think, what it was.
Along the lines of all the, you talked about the season and being philosophically aligned and all, but in that regard, a couple of big moves were made in season. The switch from Tannehill to Levis at quarterback, the firing of Greg Ackerman. Were those unanimous decisions by the organization at the time?
Yes, every decision that we made was unanimous. Mike and I, we speak every morning, whether I come to his office or he comes to my office, and we talk about the task in hand for the day. When we got to the point of making the move from Ryan, at that time when we made the initial switch, Ryan was injured. And that was about, now we get to see what Levis can do. And Levis went out and he played well. I think had everybody, in this room and our fan base excited about what was to come. And so we decided to make the decision to, move forward and see what that's going to look like in the future and in his development.
Did Amy have a say in those decisions?
We consulted with Miss Amy. One thing about Miss Amy is, she hired us to do a job and she allows us to do our job.
In your introduction, you said that the number one item on your to-do list was collaborating with Mike. How do you feel like you did at achieving that or not achieving that?
Like I said, we worked well together and we got along, and I feel like our collaboration was fine. And so again, whether it's in that given time when I spoke to the press conference and I said I wanted to serve Mike, serve this coaching staff, that's going to be the philosophy moving forward. No matter who our next head coach is, who our coaching staff is, our job in personnel is to serve them and to provide them with players, that they want to coach and that fit their scheme, and I think that's the nature of the position. The general manager position isn't like what it used to be. I think back in the day, the GM ran the business side. He did everything, and this is more the philosophies of you see these teams that are still playing, they're more in the collaborative, sphere of both the head coach and GMs working together.
The video, Amy said that some consideration at least was given to a trade of Mike Vrabel. Can you elaborate on that? And was he ever directly asked if he would be part of a trade?
I don't know the nature of his conversations with Miss Amy about him being traded. I do understand the question about a trade. It's just not as simple and cut and dry. And you look over the history of coaches being traded, it's just not a lot in recent times. And when you say recent times, I know Sean Payton was just traded for, but he was out, and New Orleans had a coach in place. But there's also league mandates and rules that you have to follow, before you can execute a trade. And, you have the partner, if you will, would have to go through an exhaustive process and meet the Rooney rules and all those qualifications. And before we could even start interviewing, we have to have an opening. And so it just prolongs our ability to get the next and best head coach in here.
What's the process? What's the process going to be like in hiring a new coach, and who will be involved in that?
So we're gonna, hit the ground running. Obviously this is, I'll give you a little, just to go back a little bit, I just finished meeting with our operations staff, our support staff. I met with each assistant coach individually. Didn't want to do one big fail swoop of, talking to those guys. I wanted to give those guys individualized attention. And so that way they can ask questions that they might want to ask about themselves specifically. So made sure I made the time to go around and talk with each one of those guys. But we're going to run an exhaustive process to find our next head coach. And it's going to involve, a lot of people. Obviously I'll be a part of that. Miss Amy will be a part of that, and others. But we want to, make sure that we're getting the right people in here. I think it's going to be well documented, and I know you guys will, do your due diligence and, let us know what you think of every candidate, that comes out. But we also had to make sure that we're getting the right people in here, and people that everyone in this building, wants to come in and work for.
How did your collaboration determine that the group of offensive linemen that were on this team this year was sufficient to protect the quarterback and to create a run game?
No, I was obviously one of the voices of it, and I know that's an area where, we didn't play as well. And we need to continue to look for ways to improve that, and we will. And that'll be, a part of the process as well. But one thing I will say, about that offensive line position isn't always about the individual. It's about the sum of the parts. And we had a lot of injuries there. That was one of the positions that we had a lot of injuries. And so moving guys around, guys like Dylan Radins playing guard, playing tackle, moving guys around, we weren't able to create that cohesion, amongst the group. If you look at some of those great offensive lines back in the day, the Denver Broncos line back in the, in the late 90s, and, the Hogs in Washington, those guys had cohesion. Those guys worked well, together, and we just weren't able to keep the same 5 guys on the field consistently.
You think the group was good enough if it was healthy?
I think the group could have played better if it was healthy. And played together. Again, we're going to always look to add, competition. And, trust me, we didn't go into it feeling settled at any position. We're always looking to add. And, throughout the summer, we were able to add other pieces and work out players. Some guys we weren't able to agree to terms with that probably could have helped us. But through that, we were able to, find a Chris Hubbard and guys like that. So, the name of the game in this business is keeping the quarterback upright. And we didn't do a good enough job of doing that. And I definitely had a part in that. And so that would be one of our top tasks. Sorry.
And what are the 2 or 3 characteristics that you're going to look for in the next head coach?
In all fairness, I don't want to, go into that right now specifically. I promise you, at a given time when we're, up here, introducing the next head coach, I'll go into that. But I think right now is best for us to keep that tight, amongst ourselves as we go through our process.
Is it though to make sure that you are getting a coach that is going to be able to work with what seems to be the future of your franchise and quarterback, Will Levis, to make sure that that is right more than anything, if this is the guy you're moving forward with as your quarterback?
So, I think all positions are important. And I get the nature of the quarterback position and what it means to not only our franchise, but to the league as well. I share with you guys, before Levis's first start, and that became like a mantra, for me to tell him, I told him, you don't have to be number 1. You just have to be number 1 of 11, and so we're not going to, make our whole search about, Will Levis. We have other guys on this team that are going to require coaching. They're going to require development. But, we will bring someone in here that's, sees it the same way and is more than willing to work with him.
It sounds like you were not present in the room when Amy talked to Coach Vrabel this morning of his firing. How much is that true? And how much say did you have in the final decision to part ways with Coach Vrabel?
No, I was not in the room when the news was delivered. And these things are ultimately, Miss Amy's.
Again, y'all, this is head coach. This is Titans general manager Rand Carthon. This is courtesy of 102.5 The Game. Stillman and company during the press conference.
But that's just the way it is.
On that, Rand, did you have any input at all? And what's your understanding of why Mike was fired?
Well, like Miss Amy said in her statement, it's about her long-term vision, of what she wants the organization to be, and how she wants to move this organization, forward.
How did it work for nobody to have final say?
It worked fine. Because again, I think we've talked about this before, with this group, I see that as a ego driven part, that can create dissension, and, that's the his guy, my guy, type of conversation. But again, there was never going to be a player brought in here that we weren't in agreement with.
Was it part of your agreement in the collaboration that Mike would face the music on everything difficult through the season and that you would be as invisible as you were?
No, I think, well, to your point, because I know where we want to go with this, I was out front from the moment I got hired through the spring, throughout that whole process. And I just felt like, whether right or wrong, and it's something for me to learn from as we move forward. I just felt like the fall should have been about, the players and the coaches. Now, in terms of when it came to the KB trade and why I was not out front on that, Mike's had the relationship, with Kevin over the last, 6 years or whatever it's been. And we felt like it was best for him, to go out front and handle that.
By out front, you had a few press conferences. What's out front?
When you say I had a few press conferences, are we talking in the spring or the fall?
Spring and the fall.
No, I was out front in the spring because that's roster acquisition time. I don't particularly remember doing a press conference in the fall, but maybe I did one or two. Yeah, I mean, again, Paul, this is my first year on the job, and I've had thoughts and processes that I thought would work best, moving forward. And I'm not here to say, again, like I said, it may not be right or wrong, and it's something that I need to evaluate, moving forward and do a better job of connecting with the fan base.
Amy said in the video that she will name who has final say once the process is over. So is your understanding that this is changing?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's a thing where it's an ego thing. You know what I mean? From my standpoint of saying I have to have it, it's whatever's best for this organization. And we're going to do that. And no matter if she says that I have final say, it'll be in a collaborative effort, with the head coach. Like I firmly believe, and I'll never deviate from it. We're not going to bring players in here that the coaches don't want to coach. No, go ahead. You got it.
A moment ago, you said the reason primarily he was fired was because of the vision that Miss Amy sees for this team. What was it about Mike that wasn't compatible with that vision?
It's her vision for the organization, not the team. The vision for her organization and how she wants things structured for that. Like I said, Miss Amy's she's made her statement and she's clarified her reasons, and we're here to support her.
Nobody's happy with the outcome of this season.
I'm sorry. Start it one more time.
You mentioned how nobody's happy with the outcome of this season. How much blame do you put on yourself for a 6-11 season?
I mean, obviously, I'm one of the pieces in the talent acquisition part. So I wholeheartedly take a lot of the blame. And I have no problems with that. Again, I've been a part of losing seasons, throughout my career. But I've been a part of some really big winning seasons, specifically these last couple of years. And so that's not a part of my nature. I don't accept losing. You have the piece out there. Well, hey, if you continue to lose, you get a higher draft position. I don't give a damn about a draft position. I'm here to win football games, and that's what I'll ultimately be judged on.
Timeline ran on wanting to get a new coach in place.
Well, again, we have to go through league protocols and mandates that we have to meet as the people who will be new to the hiring process, from a DEI perspective that we have to go through. So once we, handle that part of the business, we'll get started immediately in terms of who we want to sit down with and, again, start immediately.
That they might make a change, Ray.
I mean, you can speculate, you know what I mean? And, again, Mike and I, we had, private conversations yesterday as we met with players, as we met with the players in one-on-one. But, I mean, you guys do a good job of keeping everybody informed, you know what I mean? And so it's something that you have to, when you see it, you have to give it a thought about what it is. And, again, it's unfortunate that we're sitting here today, having that conversation. I'll be honest with you, man. It's, going down and meeting with the coaches one-on-one, and individually. Some of these guys that, they're damn good ball coaches, and we're having this conversation under these circumstances. It's not easy. Again, like I said, after I face you guys' questions, I have to go home and answer questions. Some of you guys have seen my kids around. My daughter had a close relationship with Mike, so I got to go home and answer these questions as well. So these days are never easy.
Did Mike want more control in the process, or at least a different structure set up?
We never had those conversations because Mike was a part of every meeting that we ever had in terms of talent acquisition. The way we did things last year, from the moment I came in, we had a free agency meeting with the scouts. And we were all in there. We had a meeting with the coaches. We were all in there saying,
That was
Did we lose him?
Titans general manager. That was Titans general manager Rand Carthon on, and looks like we lost. I think we kind of had lost him a little bit, but I think they were able to get him back. But that is Titans general manager Rand Carthon talking about the firing of head coach Mike Vrabel. That did, of course, happen today. And, a lot of things that touched on, it sounded like, he basically said, um, that Mike was with him every step of the way. They had meetings and things like that. He was not in on when Amy and Vrabel had their meeting, and Amy made the decision to do that. So obviously, Rand and Amy had a meeting, and then she talked to Vrabel. And so I did like how he did go and talk to each individual assistant coach. He went and talked to every last one of them. I know there's like a bunch of comments from everybody with that. And I know there's a lot of doubt out there. There's a lot of doubt. And I understand and I respect it. Philip Mattis comes in with a super chat. I appreciate. He said, Miss Amy kicked Vrabel out and put chains on the door like Joe Clark did that kid who beat up Kid Ray on Lean On Me. Thank you, Miss Amy. Of course, Jackson said we're going to regret this for years to come. He said he coached his tail off with a bad roster. He's a top 5 coach. Was he perfect? No, but the decision is up there with trading A.J. Brown. Anyone with a brain can see that this is a terrible move. No, it's not. It's a brilliant move. It's a very good move that they did that. I was more upset about the A.J. Brown trade than I was about this one. This one was coming. Vrabel was arrogant. Vrabel basically tried to take over. And Vrabel thought it was his way or the highway. He wanted to do things his way, and everybody else was idiots. Parker D said, I am confused at why this is happening. Do you trust Amy because people are upset with her about the decision? Right now, I trust Amy. She wants to win. She wants to win. And has said it herself, she wants to win championships. And she said in her interview with Mike Keith, the last 2 years were disappointing. She said the fans deserve better. And she kind of even put herself on blast a little bit. Basically saying, I will admit, I'm gonna see if I can pull up the full her statement that she made to the team. But yeah, Rand Carthon, he is answering some tough questions right now. He is in front of the firing squad at the moment. I'm trying to pull up the full statement because I got it from Easton Freeze. I just had it. Now I wish. Okay. But basically, he said one thing that was mentioned is that she had extremely high expectations. She had extremely high expectations, and that she wants to be competing for championships. I am trying to find that full statement. But basically, she she said that she wanted, she has high expectations. She wants to win championships. And we failed at that. Amar says, I love the unknown. It's better winning 6-7 games next year and looking pathetic. We need a change. We got the owner who's not afraid to pull the plug when she has to. I agree. Ms. Amy got balls. I will give her that. Miss Amy got balls. And she's tough. I will give her that. Now, I do agree. I know a lot of people are scared. I know a lot of people are worried that this was a brash move and didn't think clearly. But it was time. It was time. Her expectations, he says, were unapologetically high. But Mike Vrabel gave those expectations. He said they were going to compete for the playoffs and win division titles, and they failed. And Mike Vrabel had to be held accountable for it. And so, at the end of the day, again, this is the right move. It was time to move into the future. Vrabel was going to hold this team back, and it's time to move into a different direction for a much more offensive mind at head coach. Now, again, I am not one to say this is going to work. I am not one to say this. I cannot say whether this next head coach that comes in is going to succeed or fail, because the next head coach could very well fail. Yes, that could happen. But the very next coach could also take us to the Super Bowl and win one. We don't know. And that is called going into the unknown. And I know a lot of you are scared about that. Borderline terrified about going into the unknown. But this change had to be made for the better of the team. This was what was in the best interest of the football team. But now this has happened. We all got to ask the question now, what's next? What's the next move? And I am excited about this. I am excited about this journey that we're about to go on. I know there's quite a few in the media that thinks, oh my God, this is a terrible move, that this is bad ownership acting, that this will set us back. And I get it. But you got to look at everything. It is about wins and losses, and it is also about coaching. Coaching matters in this league. Look in San Francisco. Kyle Shanahan is showing coaching does matter. Yes, they got talent, but you got to be able to coach that talent, develop that talent, and they have been developing talent. Look at the Chargers situation. Everybody talks about talent. Need to have talent. The Chargers have all the talent in the world. They got a good young quarterback, a good offensive lineman, some good wide receivers, Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack pass rushers, even though they might get rid of one of them. They got a lot of talent out there, but Brandon Staley couldn't coach. And LA Chargers should show you coaching matters. It isn't just about the players on the field. It's also who's wearing the headset. So, it's going to be very interesting to see how all of this plays out. But I am excited. Christmas came early or late. but Santa Claus has come through for me. There is a God and he loves me. Santa did not let me down. This was the best Christmas present you could ask for. And as a member of Phi Beta Sigma, this is a great Founders Day for me. And I agree, we cannot get a Ken Whisenhunt, Mike Munchak type of guy. Yeah. And I mean, and that's fair. Overchicken said all the coaches will be here. He'll let the new head coach decide. And that is very fair. That is extremely fair. Now, some of those guys could audition for other jobs and things like that, but that is absolutely fair because I do think the new head coach is going to keep a few guys. I think guys like Terrell Williams, I think will stay as defensive line coach. Maybe you could look at somebody like a Tony Dews. Maybe he goes back to being a running back coach. I don't know what this will mean for Justin Odden or Charles London. We're gonna definitely find out with those guys. And Chris Harris is another interesting one too, because he was a highly regarded defensive coach, and he might have a shot at defensive coordinator. And again, I think if you get an offensive mind, at least the offensive side of the ball, you do not have to worry about. Because DeMeco Ryans in San Francisco, in Houston, is about to face this problem. Bobby Slowick is going to be a head coach, and he may be the next head coach of the Tennessee Titans. So I think it's fair that these coaches, at least some of them, get the opportunity to stay. And I appreciate everything. I appreciate Mike Vrabel for getting us to the playoffs and to the AFC Championship, but we need more. And so again, talking about who's next. Here are just off the top of my head, I got my top 5 candidates, and I got a dark horse. Now, I see a lot of y'all got comments, and I know I'm not going to be able to get to them all, but I'm going to do my best. Let's see. Sean says, glad Vrabel took us to the playoffs for a few years, but I am excited to see where we go from here. Future is bright with the Titans. All we can do now is tighten up and see what happens. I agree. Anybody could get this job. And so, again, this is who I start with. Bobby Slowick in Houston. He is the Texans offensive coordinator. Again, he was formerly the passing game coordinator for 3 years in San Francisco under Kyle Shanahan. And I put his name first because he's the guy, at least that I know, that has the most familiarity with Rand Carthon. But Diana Rossini did put out that Rand is going to lead the search. And he's made enough relationships has made a lot of relationships outside to be able to find a good coach. But Bobby Slowick is number 1. Look at what he did in Houston with C.J. Stroud. Again, took him from 3 wins to division champs in the playoffs. They'll be playing on Saturday. So I think he's a young offensive mind. I believe he's like 36 years old. Very young. He's younger than me. But I really think Bobby Slowick should be the front runner for this job. The next candidate on my list is a familiar name. Eric Bieniemy, formerly the Washington Commanders offensive coordinator and longtime offensive coordinator in Kansas City. Now, Eric Bieniemy has went for head coaching jobs for years. And a lot of people have always said he didn't do great in the interview. that he wasn't a great interview. Rand and the Tennessee Titans, they brought him in to interview for the offensive coordinator job. And it looked like that maybe Eric Bieniemy had a shot, but they went with Tim Kelly instead. And so I think Eric Bieniemy is a great offensive mind. I could definitely see Rand interested in bringing him in, because they already spoke last year. I think Eric Bieniemy is a very good offensive mind, but he could be a little stubborn maybe. We don't know. We don't know. But given his track record in the past, he could be very, very good. A lot of people think he's long overdue to be a head coach. My third candidate, Brian Johnson, the offensive coordinator of the Philadelphia Eagles. He was also the quarterback's coach before he was offensive coordinator. Now, I do like Brian Johnson because, the Eagles looked incredible early on. But now the Eagles have had a little bit of trouble, and there is trouble in paradise up in the city of brotherly love. And right now, a lot of people think that the Eagles are just limping into the playoffs and could lose to the Buccaneers in the first round. Because a lot of people up in Philly right now are calling for Nick Sirianni's head right now. Now, remember, you got to interview two minority candidates from the outside. Bieniemy and Johnson would satisfy that rule, but I think both of them could legitimately have the shot. That offense in Philly is damn good, despite what has happened recently. Lou Man says, Rand says he doesn't have anybody in mind yet. Yeah, I think you make this move knowing you got somebody in mind. So I could see that. Ben Johnson, offensive coordinator of the Detroit Lions. He is the hot commodity. He is the hot name. He's the name everybody wants. Right now, I would probably say at this moment, Ben Johnson and probably to a lesser extent, Mike Vrabel are the two hottest candidates right now today. Everybody wants a shot at Ben Johnson. Everybody does. Because of what he did in Detroit. And he is instrumental in what happened in Detroit. So it's going to be very interesting about that. And there were rumors coming out that that Ben Johnson wants to be one of the highest paid coaches in the league. He wants $15 million a year. I don't know if that's coming from him or his agent. Most likely from his agent. Because everybody wants money. So I could see Ben Johnson being a guy too. I would definitely talk to him. But Ben Johnson better not come here acting like I got the job already. And I know somebody's talking about Stump Mitchell. I don't even know who that is. Okay, I see. So right now, people are mentioning Stump Mitchell, the running backs coach in Cleveland. I don't know who that is, and I haven't really heard of him. I would not put that on this. Satisfy the running back. This one is Todd Duncan, coordinator of the seems like he can adapt situations. He's also offensive coordinator. Some other quarterbacks. Georgia offense. And won back-to-back national championships. Him in, because I think Todd Monken could turn him into at least a decent backup. Okay, my bad. Thank y'all for warning me. But I would say Todd Monken. I think Todd Monken would be an interesting choice because of he's been able to adapt to what Lamar does well and run the offense around him. And they're one of the better offenses in the league. They can put up points. Baltimore is the number 1 seed right now. So we're definitely going to find out. Again, I don't have really much experience on Stump Mitchell. I didn't even know who he was. I'm just being honest. I did not know who this guy was, and I would not put him on the list because I don't know what qualifications he has. I mean, yeah, good running back coach. I mean, yeah, Nick Chubb and Isaiah Ford. I mean, he would probably be an outside candidate that nobody would see coming. But Todd Monken, I could definitely see. I do not have Jim Harbaugh on my list because it depends on what the NCAA does. I mean, I could see him going back, and I think a lot of teams are going to jump at Jim Harbaugh quickly. But I could also see him going back to Michigan. But my dark horse candidate, and this name just came across, and there is one particular reason why I picked this name. And it's a dark horse name. Adam Stenavich, offensive coordinator and former offensive line coach in Green Bay. And this is why I put this name as a dark horse. The last words I just said, offensive line. He's actually managed to make some decent offensive linemen up there in Green Bay. Adam Stenavich, was up there with Bakhtiari and some of the other offensive line. I mean, Jordan Love is having a breakout year. And I think the Titans were going to draft Jordan Love, and Green Bay jumped in front of him and got him before we could. That messed up our entire 2020 draft. And right now, Jordan Love threw for nearly 4,000 yards, over 30 touchdowns. Had a breakout season. So even though Matt LaFleur is making the calls, the fact that this guy, I mean, definitely could be a guy that you could bring in to help your offensive line. I would also say you need to bring in Mike Munchak as offensive line coach. Whoever we get offensive, and the one coach, whoever the new head coach is, one of the most important hires that new coach is going to have to do is offensive line. And this is the reason why I think a new offensive-minded head coach is going to be good. To develop Will Levis. You got to build this team around Will Levis and not Derrick Henry anymore. And that's the direction that we have to go. You got to build around Will Levis. It's time to go into the new age. And I think this next coach is going to get a chance to do that. Will it be easy? No. Could it be a struggle? Yes. but you set that expectation in the beginning. You let us know this could take some time. I know a lot of y'all don't want to have patience, but don't expect an overnight sensation in year one. There will be some good times, there will be some struggles. But if you give this new coach some time, don't expect him to be successful in 1 year. And don't be calling for the man's head after 1 year. Let's give this coach and Rand an actual chance to do this together. Now, in a couple of years, if Rand and this new coach fails, okay. Some of y'all like Lou Man and Tights Forever, y'all can come back and say, truth, see, you were wrong. You can do that. But it's all about Will Levis's development and development of other players. Because now the new head coach, this is going into year 2 for Will Levis. So now that new head coach gets 2 years with Will Levis before a decision is made if you are going to re-sign him to a big, big contract before year 4. Instead of keeping Vrabel and you go start off 1-4, you fire Vrabel, and now you've wasted another year of development, and then that new head coach will only have 1 year to develop Will Levis before making that decision. So, Ian, happy Founders Day, fellow Greek. I appreciate you from an alpha man to a sigma man. Thank you. I have faith in Miss Amy and Rand to right this ship. No more selling for mediocrity. I agree. Miss Sunshine, the missus of the show. You're going to need a cold beverage after all this excitement. I agree. I'm sure finna eat some food, and I'm finna get ready to go party a little bit with my frat brothers in a couple of hours. But yes, I'm gonna need a cold one. So, big news today with Mike Vrabel getting fired instead of being traded. Now, if Mike Vrabel ends up going to the Patriots, and thank you, Sunshine Lavender, for that. I appreciate it. But if Mike Vrabel ends up with the Patriots, then yes. And it depends on how long that takes, too. If that's something that happens within the next week, then yeah, I might be a little disappointed because you could have got something, depending on who the new coach is. But other than that, if he goes anywhere else, I'll be satisfied. Since everybody think he's such a great coach, go ahead. Go get another job. He is going to be, like in hockey, Peter Laviolette, the former coach of the Nashville Predators. He came in early, had an established roster, won a few games, won early, got to the Stanley Cup final. He's in New York now with the Rangers, got them looking good. But then as the years went by, it started to go downhill. After a few years, all of a sudden, you're not getting that high in the playoffs as you used to. After some time, yeah, Ian, I see your post. I'm like, you got that right. I'm too happy right now. So I just shared that out. I am too happy right now. So it is what it is. I'm just glad we could get a coach that's not going to put so much emphasis on players playing special teams than trying them out on the field. And I agree. And I think the next coach is going to actually put players in their natural positions instead of put Skoronski at guard where he could have played tackle. Overchicken said, if we had traded him now, it would not have been official until like 3 weeks. We would not have been able to interview until the trade was official. That's why they fired him now. Agreed. Because like Amy said, it would have set him back a few weeks. She didn't want to wait and then be behind the 8 ball while all the other teams get the good coaches. So that's what it is. But I appreciate everybody tuning into the show. Again, make sure everybody that's in here hit that like button for me. Let me see how many likes I have right now. Because I can tell you how many likes I got and how many likes I don't have. Like, I know there's about 40 people watching, and I only got 19 likes. I should have 40 likes right now. I should have 39 likes right now. So every last one of you that's watching, hit that like button for me. And if you're new to the channel, go ahead and hit the subscribe button so that way you know when I'm going live. But again, the big news of the day, Tennessee Titans head coach Mike Vrabel fired by the Tennessee Titans. We heard from Rand Carthon earlier. You know, he's basically saying that, you know, he's going to be judged by winning football games. The pressure's on him now. You know, he said, you know, there wasn't no rift. There were no, you know, he didn't ask for a trade and things like that, which I do think it's a bit false. Somebody told him, don't give the real detail. But again, Mike Vrabel fired as head coach of the Tennessee Titans. They will start a new search. Yep, and I appreciate Donzel and Stevie saying they got my back. I can't hit like on my own show. Well, yes, I could. Actually, I could. Yep, gave myself a like. And yeah, the Patriots have not moved on from Bill Belichick just yet. So we're going to find out. Luke says there isn't really no good jobs out there other than us and the Chargers. And I agree. I think we are a good job. You got Will Levis, a young quarterback. You got DeAndre Hopkins. And I do think a new head coach is going to help elevate Will Levis. And this new head coach could possibly save Treylon Burks' career. I really do. I think this new head coach could save Treylon Burks, maybe save Kyle Phillips, could save those guys. Use them correctly. So we're definitely going to find out on that. But, man, what a crazy day. What a crazy couple of days. I am happy. I am excited about this new journey. I'm hoping that we do get the right head coach, right offensive-minded head coach in here. And we get a good offensive line coach, and we get this thing started. So, again, Titans have fired head coach Mike Vrabel. Rand Carthon, the GM, he will be over the search. I am excited. And I know Miss Mims is very, very happy. Congratulations. Go Blue to the Michigan Wolverines winning the national championship last night. And so it is what it is. But for all of y'all out there who are Vrabel supporters and are so mad about this, quit your crying. Wipe your tears. This is going to work. I think better is to come. You're going to have a coach that we may have a coach that ends up playing coaching to the strength of the players rather than making the players play to his strengths. That's what we need. And I think Rand had a pretty decent first draft. Levis. Skoronski, I think, will be pretty good. Tajay Spears, better than I thought. Josh Wiley, we'll see what he does when he comes back. How is he going to be used? Colton Dowell, you know, he got hurt, hate that he got hurt. He could have been taking the place of what NWI was doing. But we're going to definitely see. Now, I know Lou Man is trying to play with me, but I appreciate it. Looks like everybody is giving the lights. So I appreciate everybody giving a light to the show, but I'm going to let y'all go ahead and enjoy this crazy news of everything, and we'll see what other developments happen with this news. Again, super chats are appreciated. Y'all make sure you follow on Instagram, on X, and on Facebook as well. And so I am going to do my homework on some of these coaches. And I'm going to start doing some homework on draft picks as well. So again, tomorrow we will do a end of the year we'll try to do an end of the year review, like who is the MVP, who was the MVP of the season, who was the most improved, who was the biggest disappointment. And so we're definitely going to find out. Wow, yeah. Todd Downing on the 9th, and now Vrabel on the 9th. Very interesting. So I thank everybody for tuning into the show. I hope everybody has a very good rest of your Tuesday night. I will see all of y'all bright-eyed, bushy-tailed tomorrow night, 5 o'clock Wednesday, as we have our end of the year review. Thank y'all, and y'all have a great night. And let's tighten up. Yes, tighten up, because that's all we know how to do. Good night, y'all.